2010 Mazda 3. I've got a clunk in the front. Changed the front shocks already last year. Changed the control arms last year. So tonight I'm going to do the sway bar links and the sway bar bushings. I'm not going to show you tonight how to do the sway bar links. There's plenty of videos on that. It's boring and easy. But I am going to show you how to do the bushings. I've already done the passenger side. I'm going to do the driver's side now. It's the same thing. It is simple, but it is not necessarily easy. What we have to do first is remove these two 17mm bolts that hold the rear bushing of the lower control arm to the subframe. There's nothing to hold up top because the nuts up there are wing nuts and they'll hold themselves. You may not be able to see, but I can see that it landed right by the subframe bushing right here. So I've got a magnet. There it is. Before we start trying to remove this, take whatever you got and spray it down. I'm going to use PB Blaster here. Anything to make this stuff slip and move a little better. I'm going to spray around the bushing where it touches the bar, and I'm also going to spray on the outside of the bushing where it hits the bracket. So I have both sway bar links, driver's side, passenger side, reassembled loosely without the nuts. I'm going to put the pry bar under the front end here. Try to lift it up. Looks like it's starting to move. Okay, it's definitely moving. So there's not much room get it up on the outside, but if you flip your pry bar like that, you can get under the back end of the bracket. Just make sure it doesn't pierce your tie rod boot. I think it's off now. Yeah. Okay, now let's remove the link. And when this comes out, let's note what orientation it's in because it is not symmetrical. Came out like this. There's the front, and just like the passenger side, the thinner side is on the outside. So that goes inside, outside. Let's get that bushing out. We're gonna spray it a little more. And we'll clean up the area later before we put the new one in. This also actually only goes in one way too. And I'll show you that when it comes out. So just reaching behind it. Let's try to pull it toward you. Actually, might help is if you try to rotate it a bit. You can actually push it open a bit, and now it's starting to move. And just slide it down the bar toward you, and you can really bring it out the whole way like that. Now you'll see on the inside, there's this nub. So that's gonna go in the back. And it's gonna hit that collar you can see here. That shiny collar there. So here's a side by side of the old and the new. The new one splits at the bottom, works totally fine. Let's get some grease on this bushing. It'll make the reinstall a lot easier. I'm gonna put a little bit on the outside here, so the bracket can slip down over it a little easier later. And we're also gonna get some in the middle here. I've also cleaned the sway bar pretty well. Just put some penetrating oil on a rag and wipe that down. You don't want all the gunk on the bar to get caught in the middle of this thing. So starting on the end, slip that on. Making sure that nub is facing inside. Let's just send this all the way down. Twisted it there, and that seemed to help get over that hump. Rotate it as needed until you get to the end there. Now taking the bracket, we're going to put some grease on that too. So it doesn't bind when we drive it down. Taking the bracket, slip that back in. Just place it loosely over the bushing. Okay, so if you didn't think this job was annoying yet, you will now. So what we've got is the bolt partway through, and we have the wing nut sitting on top of the bracket. And we got to get those two to meet. I'm just using a ratchet to run this up. Even though there's no threads in there. Okay. Once you get that over, what you want to do is get that on just enough to catch and nothing more. Right now it doesn't look like it's catching. Okay, it looks like it did. We may have to loosen that up. That may be too many for us to get it in on the other side. Let's put on just a bit more than that. Okay, that should be good. Take your other wing nut. Hope for the best here, wherever it lands. Let's take our other control arm bolt. We're gonna send this up and send it up gently, because if you send it up too fast and you hit the bracket, it's gonna cause it to jump. You're gonna lose your wing nut. That took a lot longer than I wanted it to, but I have them both threaded in now. So I'm gonna run them up. And I'm gonna do a little bit on each side. That's the angle I was looking for all this time. Anyhow, it's mostly down. So I'm going to torque those up. Torque spec for those bolts is 89 to 120 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go right in the middle and do 105. With that done, all that's left to do is reinstall the sway bar links, reconnect the ABS sensor wire, which I moved out of the way, put the wheels back on, and take it for a test drive.